property report that was left at the jail.
And Your Honor, I'm going to ask Ms. Whitmer to be allowed to approach to use the Elmo.
Go right ahead. Do we have this document in evidence yet, Ms. Phillips?
It is not in evidence
Let's
yet.
hold off on the Elmo until we've got the document in evidence.
May I approach the witness?
Go ahead.
Deputy Ehlers, I'm handing you what's been marked as Exhibit 42. Can you tell the jury what that, or tell the court what that is?
That would be the seized Ida County Sheriff's Office seized property report.
What is the date of that report?
The date of this report would have been 11/3 of 2018, more specifically at 5:23 a.m.
And how is that report generated?
It's on a computer. We input it in there.
Who would have inputted this information?
I did.
What is the purpose of this sheet?
To log property that was recovered.
And is this a true and accurate copy of that log?
It is.
Your Honor, I offer State's Exhibit 42 into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
42 is admitted.
And then now I'd ask for Ms. Whitmer to be allowed to show it to the jury, and the screens may need to be turned on again.
Go right ahead. I think I got it.
Deputy Ehlers, now that we have Exhibit 42 before the jury, can you tell the jury what this is?
In the search warrant results, the property seizure form.
And was this provided to the defendant?
I believe so.
Do you recall when it would have been provided to the defendant?
Sometime at the jail.
Would that have been following the search warrant?
Yes, it would have.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any questions for this witness, Mr. Douglas?
Yes, yes, Your Honor. Permission to approach.
Go ahead.
Deputy Ehlers, I'm showing you two pieces of paper. Is this the a true and faithful copy of which you just looked at?
It is.
And this one does not have the exhibit mark on it for State's Exhibit 32. But are you familiar with this document?
I am.
Would you identify it for the jury?
Department of Criminal Investigation lab report.
Do you have a piece of paper and a pen on you?
I got a pen.
You have a piece of paper?
No.
Okay. With the court and party permission, I'll give you a piece of paper so you can do it over quick now.
All right.
Deputy Ehlers, as you look at the lab analysis, which has been entered as Exhibit 32, do you notice a set of three numbers, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3?
Correct.
Do they have amounts, identify them as differing amounts of methamphetamine?
Correct.
Would you please add up those numbers and tell me what total you come up with?
Your Honor, just by way of clarification, Exhibit 32 does not contain the any amounts. I believe probably the defense attorney is referring to Exhibit 33.
I stand corrected, 33.
All
We are
right.
talking about the exhibit. I got the exhibit number wrong.
Yes,
We're
sir.
talking about Exhibit 33. It's the same document you're looking at.
Yes, sir. So you want me to add those numbers?
Yes, add up the numbers for 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3, which are in amounts of methamphetamine that have been attributed to Michael Buchner.
I believe I got 21.89.
Okay. And would you read for the jury what the amount is that you have on that return, that list of seized property with regard to methamphetamine?
It says approximately 27 grams.
Okay, so there's a significant difference between the two amounts, correct?
Not a significant, but there is a difference.
There's a difference of several grams, correct?
Correct.
Permission to approach you.
Go ahead.
You did file with the court a list of everything that had been seized, correct?
Correct.
And this list is not complete, correct?
No,
This list is not complete, correct?
correct.
No further questions.
Anything else for this witness, Ms. Phillips?
Yes, thank you. When Mr. Douglas asked you about the difference that is listed on Exhibit 42 of the grams of meth versus the lab report that indicates 21 grams, do you know why there's a difference?
They could have been weighed with the baggies, and they're evident, or there was some taken out for field testing kits.
Okay. What do you mean could have been weighed with the baggies?
They were more than likely weighed on our digital scale with the weight inside the bag, the bags that are used for packaging.
Do you know if the lab weighs when they test the substance, whether they weigh them in the bags?
I don't know.
Is there also a difference between the what you weighed the marijuana or the green leafy substance as and what the lab indicated?
There is.
Do you know what the difference between those would be?
You want the actual weight, like the grams, or
No, sorry. General question. Do you know why there would be a difference?
the difference would be because the marijuana was weighed with the jar.
Okay. Do you know if the lab weighed the marijuana with the jar or without the jar?
I don't believe so, or I don't know.
Okay. And why is this list? There was some question at the end about this list not being detailed. Why is this list not detailed?
Because it was at 5:30 in the morning and I was off at 6. The serial numbers would be included in the firearms that were seized. That's just a rough estimate of what was seized.
And is the full list attached to State's Exhibit 1 with the search warrant?
It is.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Anything else for this witness, Mr. Douglas?
The net effect of which, excuse me. The net effect of what you just testified is that this might be the document that you gave Mr. Euchner, but it's not an accurate document with regard to the amounts. Is that correct?
Can you rephrase that a little bit simpler for me?
The
please?
numbers on this are not completely accurate. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else for this witness, Ms. Phillips?
Not to belabor the point, were they accurate as to what you measured
Correct.
and would be different than from the lab report?
Correct.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything else, Mr. Douglas?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You are free to go. Any additional evidence today on behalf of the state, Ms. Phillips?
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Deputy Kirk Kinnaman.
Very well. Please retrieve him. Sir, please step right up here to the witness stand and I will swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please take a seat. Whenever you are ready, Ms. Phillips, go ahead.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Kurt Kitteman.
And how are you employed?
As a deputy sheriff,
Where are you a deputy sheriff with?
the Ada County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been a deputy with Ida County?
I've been a deputy for 5 years now.
What is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and then graduated from the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy.
You indicated you'd been a deputy with Ida County for 5 years. Do you have any other law enforcement experience?
Yes, I was the police chief of Mobile for 6.5 years before coming to Ida County.
Do you have any particular duties as a deputy with Ida County?
Mainly patrol, and that would include patrolling the towns, the rural, and answering any calls of service that come during your shift.
What are calls for service?
Anything that dispatch gives you that comes in between, talk to people, burglaries, or anything else like that.
You indicated that you were a graduate of the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy. Do you have any other training particular to being a police officer?
Yes, I'm a standard field sobriety instructor. I'm a ARIDE, which is Advanced Roadside Impairment Detection Enforcement. I'm a reserve officer instructor. I'm an active shooter instructor.
Let's talk about those just a little bit. You said started with standard field sobriety. I'm sorry, what did you say you were with that?
As an instructor.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means I went through an instructor course through the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy to teach or refresh fellow officers the standardized field sobriety testing.
What is field sobriety testing?
It is what NHTSA, the National Highway Transportation Agency, has put together to determine if there's impairment in an individual.
And when you're determining impairment, what type of substance are you looking for?
Mostly alcohol, but then there is also drug impairment, and that is also where the ARIDE comes in, the Advanced Roadside Impairment Detection Enforcement.
When you say drug impairment, does that include both methamphetamine and marijuana?
Yes,
Okay, now tell me about the ARIDE.
that would be similar to the SFSTs, but it's just a couple of more steps that you do to gauge if they're impaired.
Okay, we're using some acronyms here. You said SF.
Standard field sobriety testing.
Okay, and tell me about this class or how you're certified to be an ARIDE instructor.
It was a 2-day class put on by the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy. They had instructors that would come out, and then after you go through the course, then you'd certify through it.
What do you learn in the course?
You would learn basic impairments between, their eyes, their body movements
Impairment from what?
from an illegal narcotic.
Okay. You also mentioned your reserve officer, and again,
Instructor.
what does that mean?
Another thing through the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy, I can teach some basic courses to reserve officers to meet their criteria to be a reserve officer through the state.
What are reserve officers?
They are officers that help other departments in time of need when they are low staffed.
And the last you mentioned was active shooter. What is that?
Pretty much what it is. If there's an active shooter in a school, in a building or wherever, I went through a week-long course to teach fellow officers how to perform their duties during an active shooter.
Now, I'd like to direct your attention a little bit more towards your training specific to drug.
Dog and I got certified detecting narcotics on vehicles and in rooms. Since then, each year we go to the United States Police Canine Association. We also get recertified through them. And then besides that, I've had a little more than half a dozen interdiction courses.
When you use the term interdiction, what does that mean?
Interdiction would be the interception pretty much of illegal goods or persons that are traveling on the highways.
You say illegal goods. Are you referring to drugs?
Yeah, it could be drugs, credit card scammers, just something that of illegal behavior.
Okay. Have you been involved in general in other cases involving or other investigations involving the possession of methamphetamine and marijuana, as well as cases involving the sale of methamphetamine and marijuana?
Yes, I have.
Do you know about how many cases you've been involved with that over the course of your career?
Over simple possession, probably a couple of dozen, maybe a year. And then for intent, just a small handful each year.
I'd like to direct your attention to the case before the jury today. Were you working as a deputy for Ida County on November 2nd, 2018?
I was.
Did you attend a briefing at the sheriff's office that day?
I was.
What was that briefing in regard to?
It was about a search warrant that we were going to conduct in Ida Grove. We were going to split into 2 teams. And then after the search of the home and of everybody, then we're going to start a search of each place.
What was your responsibility?
I was initially set on the first team that was going to make entry into the residence. And then after the search of the residence, then we would just all gather and start searching everything.
What happened after this briefing?
Then we went down to the place to search.
And what happened when you arrived there?
We all got together and then I went in with the first team into the residence. We secured the residence. And then after we secured the residence, I escorted one of the persons from inside outside. And then from there, I went on to the one shed on the property where the rest of the officers were at.
Who did you escort out?
I believe Jessica Streck,
Why did you escort her out?
because she didn't reside there and then she didn't pertain to anything with the search warrant.
Was she allowed to leave?
Yes.
And you indicated, or let me ask you, what did you do after escorting her out?
Then I went to the PC repair shop on the property.
Did you participate in the search there?
Yes.
What areas did you search?
When I walked into the PC repair shop, I noticed there was officers kind of spread out and it looked like they were taking pictures by the desk in the room. Then that's when I walked up to the desk and then I started my search at that desk.
Did you find anything of significance in the desk?
Yes.
Did you have a body camera on at this time?
Yes.
Have you had a chance to review your body camera footage?
Yes.
And just in general, what does that footage show?
The body camera will show from start to finish the entire search warrant of entering the residence, securing everybody, and then the search of not only the PC repair shop, but also the house.
About how long is that entire, what you've just described?
Over an hour.
Okay. Is there a particular portion of the video, though, that deals just with what you found in the desk?
Yes.
And I have some specific questions for you about what you found in the desk, but would it be helpful to watch the video as you're describing that?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask for permission to play the video.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor, no objection.
That is granted. Give me just 1 second here.
Deputy Kinnaman, can you tell the jury what it is you're doing here?
That's where I grabbed a property seizure form out of our search warrant box. And then I came over to the desk that I was describing to start my search.
What's the point of the property seizure form?
So you can list what property that you are seizing from that place.
Deputy Kinnaman, what is that you've just picked up?
A bag with green leafy substance and then 2 glass pipes with residue
And where were those items retrieved from?
in the center drawer of that desk.
What did you do with the items?
I placed it there on the couch to designate that as the central point of any evidence that was going to be seized, to be placed there to be later bagged up.
Deputy Kinnaman, in the corner, we can see a flash on the screen. What is that?
That would be Deputy Van Y was taking photographs of wherever I would be finding something to be seized.
Why do you take photographs?
So that way we have more of an accurate spot of where that was at.
Deputy Kinnaman, what is this that you've picked up and placed in your left hand?
That would be of a metal tin and it has green leafy substance on it. And then there's a white wrapping paper that also has green leafy substance inside.
What would that be consistent with, to your knowledge?
It'd be consistent with marijuana.
And what is this that you've just picked up?
It'd be of a metal tin. And then that was of a wrapper and there was of a white crystallized substance inside of that wrapper.
Do you know what kind of wrapper that is?
I don't know what kind it is, no.
Deputy Kinnaman, what are you doing here?
At this time, I'm removing the gloves that I have as search gloves, and I'll be putting on rubber gloves. So that way, if there was anything else of a texture, it wouldn't soak through my skin.
Why were you concerned with that?
At that time, usually fentanyl was starting to go around the country, and you never know if you touch something.
Okay, Deputy Kinnaman, what is that you've just found?
That would be of a metal scale.
And why why was that photographed?
That was photographed because that would have been right around the wrapping paper right there. And then also where that metal tin with the green leafy substance.
What is the significance of the wrapping paper and the scale?
The wrapping paper would be just paper that you would wrap, say the green leafy substances, the smoke, and a scale would be to measure out certain quantities.
What are you doing here, Deputy Kinnaman?
I'm still continuing the search through the different shelves and the papers and anything that's in there, moving around to make sure there's nothing hidden.
Did you find anything else of significance in this top drawer?
In that top drawer, no.
What did you do next?
Then that's when I went down to the second drawer to continue my search.
Did you find anything of significance in the second drawer?
No.
Do you know whose pill bottles those were?
I wouldn't know directly off the top of my head, but since I didn't seize them, then I would have assumed that they would have been the defendants,
Okay, why do you make that assumption?
because there's nothing illegal about having prescription pill bottles legally marked with your own name on it.
Deputy Kinnaman, what is it that you're doing here?
I'm continuing the search through the third drawer on the right-hand side.
And do you find anything of significance in this drawer?
Yes,
What is the first item of significance that you find?
it should be of the mason jar with the green leafy substance.
Is that the mason jar you're referring to?
Yes,
What do you know that green leafy substance to be?
marijuana.
Can you describe, was that drawer pretty full of things?
Yes,
What is the next item, or is there more items of significance you find in this drawer?
Do recall there's a couple more items in this.
I'm going to ask Ms. Whitmer to stop the video at this time so we can talk about this for a little bit. Can you tell the jury what it is you found?
In that black little case, there was a white plastic baggie, and inside that plastic baggie was white crystalline substance.
Were there any significant markings to the baggies?
Yes, on those bags, they had a marking on them. Easy, like an easy drug, easy marking on it, and then you could put down what it is.
And was there just one baggie, or was there more than one baggie here?
In this one, there was a baggie inside of another baggie.
You've described the baggie being an easy something, or easy something, I think is what you said. Were the two baggies exactly the same?
Yes.
Okay. I'd ask Ms. Whitmer to go ahead and play the video again. What do you do with this evidence?
I let Deputy Van Wy photograph it, and then I hand it to him to place with the rest of the evidence.
Okay. And have you found something else here, Deputy Kinnaman?
Yes, in this
again, I'll have
burlap bag,
I'll have
There's-
Ms. Whitmer pause it for a second so we can talk about this.
there's a plastic baggie with, again, white crystallized substance.
What type of bag was this? Well, first of all, is the white crystal substance what you understand to be methamphetamine?
Yes,
And can you describe the bag that it was found in?
it's, I'd say like a typical feeling of like a Ziploc baggie. Ziploc bag.
And what was it inside of?
Inside that burlap bag that was in that drawer.
Did the burlap bag have any markings on it?
It did.
Do you recall what markings?
I forget what it said.
Okay, let's go ahead and play the video. Does that refresh your recollection at all?
Cellar Comfort.
Okay. What are you doing here, Deputy Kinnaman?
I was notifying for the picture to be taken and to show Deputy Ayler's the quantity that he had, so he can kind of get an idea on the charges he can file.
Can you tell me more about that? What does what you found? Why does that affect anything?
Usually by the amount that you have, how it's separated. Is it, do you have multiple baggies? Do you have scales? Do you have things that would show more than just one small little baggie with small amounts?
Okay. Well, what would one little baggie with small amounts tell you?
That they're usually just a user and that they just got enough for that one fix that they needed.
And Deputy Kinnaman, can you tell the jury what it is that you're doing at this point?
Continuing searching through that last drawer, looking to see if there's anything else.
Did you find anything else of significance?
No.
Did you finish searching the bottom drawer at this point, Deputy Kinnaman?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do next?
Then I was just searching through items on the right side of the desk along the wall right there.
Was there anything of significance found during that part of the search?
No.
Okay, what is happening in the video? You just panned over a little bit and saw someone else. First of all, who else was searching?
On that side of the desk, it appeared to be Deputy Van Wy and at the time, Officer Clausen.
Did you at some point also assist them in the search of the other side of the desk?
Yes, I did.
When the other side of the desk was searched, first of all, what drawer is it that you're looking in now?
On the left-hand side, it'd be the middle drawer.
And what is that, Deputy Clausen?
Yes,
What does he hold up?
he located another digital scale and it had residue on it.
Okay, when you say residue, what do you mean?
It'd be residue, anything that's left behind from whatever was placed on it for measuring.
Does it appear to be drug residue?
Yes,
There was some questions asked earlier in regard to ammunition being filled. Did the scale have any residue from ammunition that you could see on the scale,
no,
or any gunpowder?
no,
Was there anything else found during your search at this time?
no, not by me.
Just so we're clear, this may have been said already, Ms. Phillips. What exhibit was it we were just watching?
Exhibit 38, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Did you search anything else after PC repairs?
Yes, after the PC repair, I did go into the residence and search the upstairs.
And was anything found of significance found in the residence upstairs?
Yes, I believe in the defendant's bedroom, there was a roach found in the nightstand.
When you say roach, what do you mean?
Like a paper wrapped with the green leafy substance with burnt residue on it.
And when you refer to green leafy substance, would that be marijuana?
Yes,
Deputy Kinnaman, you mentioned several times that photographs were taken during your search. And I'd like to ask permission from Ms. Whitmer to approach and show the photos that have been admitted on the Elmo at this time.
Go right ahead.
Deputy Kinnaman, I'm showing you what's been marked, I believe, as Exhibit 14. Can you please tell, that one looks like 15. Let's look at Exhibit 14 then. Can you tell the jury what this photo shows?
that would be the metal pan with the green leafy substance, with the white wrapping paper, with the green leafy substance inside the wrapping paper, and then also the package of Zigzags, which is a brand of wrapping paper right there.
Where was this found?
This was found in the upper right-hand drawer of that desk.
Okay, now looking at Exhibit 15, can you tell the jury what that shows?
That would be of that tin can that had that white paper inside of it, that had the white crystalline substance inside of that.
Where was that tin can found?
That would have been located right there in the right-hand drawer.
And I'll show you Exhibit 16.
That would have been with the lid off of it to show better of that paper.
And looking now at Exhibit 17, can you tell the jury what that is?
That would be the digital scale that was also located in that drawer,
Which drawer?
the right-hand drawer of the desk.
Okay, let's look at, I believe we're on Exhibit 18. Can you tell the jury what that is?
That would be that mason jar in the bottom right-hand drawer with the green leafy substance.
Is the green leafy substance what you know to be marijuana?
Yes,
And let's look at Exhibit 19. Can you tell the jury what that is?
that would be that plastic bag with the markings on it that has another plastic bag of the same sort that had the white crystallized substance inside.
I'm going to ask Ms. Whitmer to zoom in on that plastic bag. And perhaps, does that help? Can you see at all what the markings are that you've described?
I see some markings, but it's blurry on my side.
Okay, let's look at Exhibit 20. What is that?
That would be that Southern Comfort bag that was also located in the bottom right-hand drawer, also with the white crystallized substance in it.
And in the white crystallized substance, what you know to be methamphetamine?
Yes,
Was this a different bag than what you saw in the previous exhibit?
yes,
Looking then at Exhibit 21. What is that?
that would be that digital scale that was found in the left-hand drawer at the very end with Deputy Van Wy and Officer Clausen.
Can you describe because there's several items in here, what's the digital scale in there?
The digital scale would be the rectangle black object about dead center,
Is it open or closed at this point?
closed.
Okay, let's look at Exhibit 22. What does that show?
That would show that digital scale opened with that residue on it,
And again, what type of residue are you referring to?
green leafy substance.
Is that what you know to be, marijuana?
Yes,
Okay. I'd like to have you look now at Exhibit 23. Can you tell the jury what that is?
that would be of an ammo can.
Now, we didn't see that in the video at all. Did you see this ammo can?
When I walked into the building, the PC repair shop, there was a couple of ammo cans on the ground, say in front of that desk that I searched.
Okay. Is this one of those ammo cans that you saw?
Yes,
Okay, now have you take a look at Exhibit 24. What is that?
that would be the ammo can, but with the lid open.
Okay. And looking at Exhibit 26.
That would have been of the other ammo can with its lid open.
Okay, how many ammo cans were there?
2.
And finally, I'd have you take a look, I believe, at Exhibit 41. Can you tell the jury what that is?
That would be of that roach that I mentioned, the wrapper with the green leafy substance with the burnt residue that was inside the nightstand in the defendant's room.
And again, I'd ask Ms. Whitmer to zoom in. Could you see what kind of baggie this marijuana was in?
It appears to be of the same sort of the white crystallized substance.
Can you describe in particular what the markings on the bag were?
Yeah, I believe near the top would be where it's a easy dose or that of some sort. And then in the white long rectangles, it's a of a pill or something, and then it'll be AM or PM, and you can fill in what you're going to put inside.
Had you seen this baggie before?
No.
This type of baggie before?
No,
Have you seen the easy dose type of baggies before?
no.
Okay, what about when you were talking about or let me ask you, the bag that you found the methamphetamine in, what was that?
That was just of a white plastic baggie that had no labels. That's usually what I find it in.
What about the first bag of methamphetamine that you found in the black pouch?
That would be of the same markings of this one.
Thank you. Deputy Kinnaman, going back to your search, you said after the PC repair building, you searched the house, is that right?
Correct.
And you found that evidence that we've just looked at in Exhibit 41, I believe, right?
Correct.
What did you do next?
I believe after that, went down back to the PC repair shop, bagged up the evidence.
Why? Well, first of all, where was the evidence?
The evidence was on that couch that we started placing it in the PC repair shop.
Why did you not bag the evidence prior to this?
because we didn't know everything that we were going to get.
Is that standard practice to wait to bag?
Yeah, we usually just have one central area that we place everything after photographs. And then from there, we'll bag it up and then transport it back to the sheriff's office.
Who bagged the items to be seized?
I did.
And how did you bag them?
I placed all the items into a big paper bag and then placed a big paper bag into Deputy Van Egdom's patrol vehicle.
Did you separate the items out in any way?
Not on the scene,
Why not?
because we're just transporting it up to the office. To later, we will separate them so that way they can go to their designated points to be either field tested or sent off to the state. Or if it doesn't have to be sent off to the state, we can place them in another bag.
You use the terms field tested and sent off to the state. Can you just describe what you're talking about there?
Usually if we have a field test kit, then we'll take a small amount of what we believe is the illegal narcotic, place it in there. And then after busting open a few pouches, shaking it up, it'll turn color if it's positive. At that time, we weren't really field testing much just due to us being afraid of fentanyl. So we would just put them in separate baggies and then we'd send them off to the state so they could do their official test.
Your Honor, I'd ask to approach.
Go ahead.
Kinnaman, I'm handing you what's been marked as States Exhibit 29, States Exhibit 27, States Exhibit 30, and States Exhibit 28. I'll have you look at one of those. Get back to my notes. Let's look first at what has been marked as evidence, or excuse me, Exhibit 29. Do you see that in front of you?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what that is?
That would be one of our big evidence bags. And then it has marked our agency number, what case number it was, suspect, and then the officer of the date and recovery, and then what we seized.
And can you tell me what it has for the agency cases number?
18-7882.
And did you say there's another number on there as well?
Just, well, our agency number, but it also has our item number of what we put it in as in the shield in our own software.
Deputy Kinnaman, can you go ahead and just look in that bag?
Do you want me to open up anywhere?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Deputy Kinnaman, just in general, what does that bag contain?
It contains that metal pan with the green leafy substance. One of the digital scales. One of the other digital scales. A black zipper pouch. One of the other black pouches. The Southern Comfort burlap bag. The rolling paper with green leafy substance that was on the pan. And a mason jar. And 2 empty plastic bags with that easy dose markings on it.
Deputy Kinnaman,
Some wrapper.
I'm sorry.
And just some wrapper.
Are these the items that you bagged up from the defendant's, from the search warrant at the defendant's residence on November 2nd, 2018?
Yes,
How do you know that that is the evidence?
because that's what I located and had photographed, and then also what I physically placed in the bag.
Your Honor, I'd offer Exhibit 29 into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
29 is admitted.
Deputy Kinnaman, let's take a look now at, I believe we looked at 9, so let's look at, or excuse me, can you tell me the exhibit number we just looked at?
29.
Okay, let's look at 30 now. And can you tell the jury, well, first of all, can you tell the jury what those items are?
In this bag, there's a couple of glass pipes that have residue on it. There is a metal pipe with residue inside of it. There's 2 tin cans, a package of zigzag wrappers, and then has several plastic baggies. Looks like one package of several plastic baggies are clear with no marking, and another is several of them with the easy dose pill pouch labeling.
Deputy Kinnaman, do these appear to be the items that you bagged up and seized from the defendant's residence on November 2nd, 2018?
Yes,
How do you know that?
because I was the one that located these items, had them photographed and placed into the bag.
And do those items, or does that bag also indicate an agency number on it?
Yes,
Can you read the agency number?
the case number for that would be 18-7882.
Your Honor, I'd offer State's Exhibit 30 into evidence.
Any
No
objection?
objection.
30 is admitted.
And Deputy Kinnaman, actually, what I'm going to have you do with that is, could you also open that bag and take out and show to the jury what that bag contains? Deputy Kinnaman, as you're opening that, in the video, you had put on some gloves. Would you like gloves?
Yeah, I got gloves in my pocket.
Okay.
In the bag, like I said, was the 2 glass pipes with residue
Where were those pipes found?
in the top center drawer. And then there'd be the tin cans that was located and photographed. Here'd be package of just plastic baggies, very small, but with no label. Here's a package of the Easy Dose pill pouch. Several of those.
Were those, talking about that easy dose pill package, were those the similar markings to what you saw with the blunt that you found upstairs?
Yes,
And also similar markings to when you found the meth in the black pouch?
yes.
Okay, what else?
More of the small plastic baggies of like this first kind, but on this package, it would just have an apple. This is original 45 by 45 millimeter. It'd have that Easy Dose pill pouch, but it'd be the one from the roach from the bedroom. the package of zigzags wrapping paper, and then the metal pipe with residue in it,
What type of residue?
marijuana.
Deputy Kinnaman, I now ask you to take a look at Exhibit 27, I believe. Can you tell the jury what that is?
That would be there's three bags. And they all have white crystallized substance in them.
And do you know where, or did you bag these baggies up?
Yes,
And is there any markings on the evidence bag to indicate the case number?
yes. On the outside of this one would be case number 18-7882,
How do you know that this is the evidence you bagged up that evening?
because it was what was photographed and I placed in the evidence bag.
Your Honor, I'd offer State's Exhibit 27 into evidence.
No objection.
27 is admitted.
Deputy Kinnaman, I'm going to have you go ahead and open up that bag as well. You're holding a bag in your hand. Can you identify what that is?
Yes, this would be the one plastic baggie that had the easy dose writing on it, with the other plastic baggie that had easy dose writing on it. And then it has the evidence tape from when the state DCI did its official testing.
Is there any markings as to, from the testing lab as to which bag this was?
It appears to say 1.2.
And did you find this bag of methamphetamine?
Yes,
Can you just describe, when we saw it on pictures and on video, what was it in?
this would have been in the black Velcro case.
Okay. Then go ahead and take another bag out. Please tell the jury what you're looking at.
This would have been the one in the plastic baggie, I believe came out of the Southern Comfort bag. And then it looks to say 1.3 as the number from the state DCI lab.
Okay. And then looking at the last bag, please tell the jury what that is.
That would be another easy dose pill bag, the same substance. And it looks like the state lab wrote 1.1 on the plastic bag.
Okay. You can go ahead and put those back in your original exhibit bag. Deputy Kinnaman, can you look at Exhibit 28? Please tell the jury what that is.
That would be of that mason jar that had the green leafy substance that was located in the bottom right-hand drawer. And then there's also a Ziploc bag of a green leafy substance that was found in the top center drawer of the desk.
And was this the item that you bagged up on from the defendants, from the search warrant of the defendants on November 2nd, 2018?
Yes,
How do you know that?
because it's what I found, had photographed and placed in the bag.
Is there any significant, or is there any agency case number on the outside of that bag?
Yes, that would have our case number 18-7882.
Your Honor, I'd offer State's Exhibit 28 into evidence at this time.
No objection, Your Honor.
28 is admitted.
Deputy Kinnaman, I'd like to go back for a moment to Exhibit 27, which contains the 3 baggies of methamphetamine. Do those items contain a drug tax stamp anywhere on them?
No.
Deputy Kinnaman, after you, going back to the evening of November 2nd, 2018, and after you bagged up the evidence that evening, did you have any further contact with the evidence?
After it was brought back to the sheriff's office, I did transport the green leafy substance from the sheriff's office to Carroll Police Department for official testing.
And do you know if that in fact has been tested?
Yes,
Do you know what the results of that test were?
yes. Net weight, 25 grams, findings, marijuana.
And Deputy Kinnaman, I believe we discussed this prior to your questioning, but there was a property inventory that indicated the marijuana weighed more than what it weighed there. Do you know why there would be a discrepancy?
Because we didn't take it out of the container. We just have a scale at our office that is flat, so it's not a bowl-like shape. So we just placed it in the actual mason jar on the scale. So we knew that the mason jar would have been part of the weight also.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any cross-examination, Mr. Douglas?
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that we take a 5-minute break. When I got up to approach Deputy Ehlers earlier, I dumped my notebook and I want to find part of my notes.
Yeah, this is a good time for an afternoon break. So let's take a little longer than 5 minutes. We'll shoot for around 10, but everybody who needs a restroom break or anything like that, you can take it now. 2:25. So let's try to be back here at 2:35. But like I said, if anybody needs longer than that, feel free to take what you need. So we'll be in recess for 10 minutes or so.
No, you did fine. It's just that I was having trouble finding the notebook where I was. It's also that time of the day. understand that people sometimes are having trouble hearing. My name's Conrad Douglas and I represent Michael Uchter. I'm not sure whether we've ever met before.
I don't think we have.
All right. The video that you basically narrated in answering to the prosecutor's questions, we didn't hear any sound from that, did we?
Did what?
When the prosecutor played that video of you holding up various things to be shown to the body camera
Yes,
and asked you to identify what we were looking at.
yes,
We didn't hear any sound on any of that, did we?
no.
When that original body cam was taken, when that footage was taken, was it somehow that it didn't pick up the sound? Or was there in fact sound on it?
There's sound on it.
All right. We're going to play now some of that sound, and I want you at the end of it to tell us whether that's an accurate reproduction of what in fact the body cam was like.
Okay. Since we got to leave a property form behind. Charlie still here?
Oh, Alex, whatever. I would say probably not, but. He said there might be some marijuana pipes way back in the drawer, but.
Yeah, I
Used to keep it in the second drawer down.
was gonna say if someone could. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I'm supposed to get out of here. Mike was ready. Stuff they can find and send on the couch.
Sit on the couch.
Yeah, and then we can write every bag.
Yeah, 'cause then we'll do-
There's another pipe. and the money.
Yeah. Is it my going to get this?
I don't know if we got the money in there or not.
Rubber tips. We get everything in here.
He did make a photograph, and that's what I was gonna say. Wait, no, where it is.
Something's in there. White powder.
Oh, it's.
Put some rubber gloves on. I know I got some field test kits, but I'm pretty sure that's meth. Yeah. Well, yeah, you got the scale.
There's another.
Zigzags.
Just run 27, 29 on all the registered owners of those plates I gave you.
I don't know.
I don't know if you can read them back, or even copy of the call.
You had a bunch of keys.
I don't know. Look at that here. I think that is. It could be. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
This looks like, you didn't have a key to that. Now what? Exactly.
Oh, shoot. Hey.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. It's a pretty good crystal.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking that stuff is in that. I'm thinking this. Oh, yeah. Yep. Same stuff. Well, I know what this is. Oh,
Yeah.
money right here.
Because here's, yeah,
Keep dropping it.
not just there, but right here. Look at this.
Absolutely. So we don't need that one canister, right? Because that's what.
Well, let's just,
Gauge to picture this.
we'll just in case. Yeah. I mean, it did look like how I had that BC, but Yeah, just.
I'll throw it with just in case. He didn't tell me which one I told him.
So far. There's quite a bit of marijuana too.
Probably.
Yeah.
Spicy chili.
Huh?
So the drawer is deep.
Yeah.
Deputy Kidman, let me start with a preliminary question. Do you have any doubts that that is the footage from your body cam?
No.
Okay. And you don't question its accuracy, do you?
I'm sorry, you don't what?
You don't question its accuracy, do you?
It
It is an accurate footage,
Appears,
right?
yes.
It's not been tampered with or anything.
appears to be correct, yes.
All right. There's reference made to leaving a property form behind. Is that required?
Yeah, usually we leave a property form behind if no one is there at the residence. Otherwise, if we do take somebody into custody, we usually hand them a property seizure form to them along with their complaint affidavits.
Okay. In this instance, did you leave a property form there at the home?
I personally did not.
Did you have anything to do with the property form?
No.
Do you know when would the property form have been filled out?
I couldn't honestly answer that
Have you
question.
filled out property forms before?
Yes.
When are typically, did you fill them out?
Typically, if there's not a lot of things to be seized from the house, there's those carbon copies that I retrieved and I'll fill them out and then leave a copy of that behind. If there's more than what we have as space, then when we get back to the sheriff's office, type it all and then hand them a copy.
Okay, but I'm still a little bit unclear. Are you saying that you wait till you get back to the sheriff's office to fill out the property form, or that in fact you're filling it out as you go along?
I guess it varies. Depends on who's doing the search warrant. Sometimes I've filled it out step by step, and other times I fill it out all at the end,
And what's a better practice?
probably step by step.
In this instance, was anybody filling out a property form step by step?
Not that I know of.
And yet there was a reminder that property form needed to be filled out, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So none of you were doing that. There's a reference in the tape, in the footage, to marijuana being in the middle right drawer. Did you hear that?
No.
You need it to be replayed. Do you remember from watching that and from your own memory, whether somebody mentioned marijuana being in the middle right drawer?
I do not remember, no.
Okay. We might come back to that. But in fact, you did not find anything in that middle right drawer at all, correct?
The right-hand side middle drawer, no.
Okay. Did you or did other members of the search party find any aspirin during the search?
Aspirin?
Aspirin.
I have no idea if they did or if they didn't.
You mentioned that there was residue on the scales. Did you?
Correct.
Right. How do you know that that was meth residue?
Because it had the same appearance of the white crystallized substance.
So really, what we're talking about is something that's white, crystalline, and a substance, but it's a step to go from that to saying, therefore, it's meth.
If it's around the general area, then it was a pretty easy conclusion.
It is an easy conclusion, but it's not a firm statement based on any kind of testing, correct?
No, I did not test the actual scale itself.
Okay. In the analysis, there was a reddish brown substance. One moment, please. There is a brown powder substance, which is labeled as item number 3 on the state lab analysis. And it says no controlled substance found. What color is gunpowder typically?
I wouldn't know if it's black or
Or brown?
it could be. I don't deal with gunpowder.
Okay. What is a good practice to take something out before making a photo of it and then to put it back and then to take the photo?
Well, I think if what you're referenced to is as you're searching, once you pull it out and you identify what it is, then you place it to where the original spot was at to get an accurate photograph of what it was, because you didn't know what it was as you were searching. And then after the photograph was taken, then you seize it.
There's a point at which you say you don't know what it's not been tested, but you're sure it's meth.
Correct.
Okay. And that's based on the fact that it's white, that's crystalline as a substance, not based on any testing, whatever.
Correct.
All right. So in other words, you're looking for something and you're sure you're going to find it. And when you find something that looks like it, then you decide that's it. Is that correct?
No, not really.
Kelly, tell us about that. Fair enough. I think you can still answer the question. How is it that you go looking for something, you find something that looks like it, but without testing, you decide that's it?
Well, it's not saying, we're looking for any type of illegal narcotic. And then when you come up and something has the same similarities, white crystallized substance or green leafy substance, it appears green leafy substance, marijuana has a distinct smell. You put all those factors together and say, well, this is what I believe it is, but we'll also send it off to the state for official testing. But it's not saying, since we're specifically looking for something, we're not going to stop until we find it.
There's another point, and I don't think it's you. I think it's one of your colleagues in the search party who say, I don't know what it say. Again, I know what this is before it's even been tested, even field tested. Do you remember that in the video?
I thought I heard something of that reference.
Yeah. So again, it's jumping to the easy conclusion that this is meth before you bothered to test it, or before the other individual has bothered to test it?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to lack of personal knowledge. I think Mr. Douglas has already established that this is not the witness that said that, and he's asking this witness to guess why it would be that that person said that, made that
I
comment.
don't think I've been able to determine yet. Maybe Deputy Kinnaman knows who it was that made that statement. Did you make that statement?
I don't recall if I made that
Right.
statement.
You're fairly well experienced in dealing with narcotics, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And you know what a controlled buy is, right?
yes.
All right. For the memory of the jurors, and because not everybody might have been able to hear it this morning, what is a controlled buy?
A controlled buy is really where a member of law enforcement has an informant or someone that they will document money, and then they will go out and make a buy from a dealer for a specific amount, for a specific amount of drugs, and then start making their cases that way.
Okay. And in those instances, you have basically three types of people you're dealing with. You've got drug addicts, drug sellers, and people who are both, correct?
I couldn't honestly answer that. I don't do control buys.
Thank you very much. Do you have some idea of, let me step back one. Would you agree that there are people who are drug users, street users, if you will, other people who are drug sellers and people who are both?
Correct.
Okay. What amount would be typical of a hard addicted daily user of meth? What amounts would you expect to find in that person's possession?
Up to a gram.
Do you know of situations where people have bought in bulk in order to have the stuff on hand?
No, I haven't.
What's an 8-ball? What is an 8-ball?
An 8-ball is reference to, I forget how many grams it is. But usually I myself is not big into calling it by eight balls or anything else like that.
What term would you use?
I just weigh it out and give the exact weight that I have.
Excuse me. You have dealt, excuse the double use of the double meaning of that word. You have had encounters with people who are drug users.
Yes,
Would it surprise you to find that somebody who was a drug user would have several grams?
maybe not.
So somebody who is simply a drug user could well have an 8-ball, which would be several grams. An 8-ball is an eighth of an ounce, correct?
I'm not good at math.
I'm just asking, is that what the term means, an eighth of an ounce?
Probably.
It would not be atypical for a drug user to have an 8-ball, correct? Or do you not know drug users that well?
I know users, but they usually only have up to a gram. They don't have much more than that because most of the ones that I have dealt with, they don't have good paying jobs or they just don't have that much money, so they can only afford up to a gram at a time.
Okay. I'm changing tax at this point. Want to go back to October 27 for a moment. Were you called to the location of PC repairs by one of your fellow deputies?
Yes,
Okay, who called you?
Deputy Ayers.
Okay. When you got there, did you see a car?
Yes,
And was that the reason for Deputy Ayers investigating that that locale?
yes.
When you were there, does your report indicate that you smelled marijuana?
After I exited my patrol vehicle to where he was located at to go make contact at the residence.
Okay. Were you able to determine without question where that odor was coming from?
You could smell it and couldn't tell if PC to the residents. But then there were some spots where it was diluted and you couldn't smell.
Okay. And there are other residences in that area, in that immediate area?
Correct.
All right. And have you ever been called to make professional visits to any of those other locales?
Not that I recall.
You don't recall any drug arrests in that area?
Right there, no.
How long does the smell of marijuana? One other question first. What you thought you were smelling, was that burnt or raw marijuana?
I believe I had in my report that I could smell burnt marijuana.
How long does that odor stay in the air?
I guess that would be a factor of the humidity and anything else environmental.
Can you give us a range?
I personally couldn't.
Have you been at locations where there was still a smell of burnt marijuana several hours after somebody had actually burned the marijuana?
I've stopped vehicles before, yes, that have already smoked it and there was the smell. And then obviously there was no raw marijuana because they already smelt it, because I already smoked it.
Can you exclude the possibility that somebody else had been smoking marijuana in that alley?
Guess it's possible.
Did you want to, did you walk by the PC repairs building?
I believe I walked somewhat by it to get down to by the residence.
How close were you?
On the day of the
On October
parking place,
27th, on October 27th.
I couldn't tell you the distance off the top of my head.
Did you, let me play something for you to remind you. This is taken from a surveillance video.
Before we play this, hold on a second. Why don't the attorneys approach for a second here? All right, go ahead then and proceed.
Before we play this, Sean, and excuse me for interrupting you. You had reminded us about the need to enter 109, 110, and 111 as exhibits. I looked at, and you're quite right that we need to do that, so I'm offering them at this time.
Any objection to 109, 110, and 111, Ms. Phillips?
No objection, Your Honor. I'm noticing the time on the timestamp on video.
Thank you. There's a point that she's making that she and I have talked about it. And I'll make a clarifying point about that.
Any objection then to the exhibits?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 109, 110, 111 are admitted. Go ahead and proceed as you see fit, Mr. Doug.
Mr. Dupner, do you see timestamps at the top of the frame?
Yes,
And would you read what the timestamp says?
it says 11:26, I believe. It should be 10:26.
Okay, and what do you attribute that error to?
Time change.
So the correct time would actually be 10:21:06, correct?
I believe so.
Okay, and how come it doesn't say 10:21:06?
Because of the daylight savings time.
Okay, and it doesn't automatically change. It just keeps to the same one time.
Right, unless you change it.
Okay, would you, Deputy Kinnaman, I'd like you to go ahead and simply watch this for a few minutes. And by the way, there is no sound on this surveillance video. Deputy Kinnaman, does this appear to be the car that was partly in the alley?
Yes.
And can you identify that white car to our left of the car in the alley?
The one in the middle?
Yeah.
I don't know whose car that is.
But it is not something that belongs to the Eucharist. It's also not something that belongs to the Sheriff's Department.
I just know it doesn't belong to the sheriff's office.
Okay, fair enough. We're going to forward this a little bit.
It's coming right.
Okay. Is that one of your colleagues?
Yeah, that appears to be Deputy Ehlers.
And is that Deputy Ayers again?
Yes.
Now, I see two individuals here. Have you joined him at this point?
Yes.
Now, so far, I'm not seeing that you've walked by the office. Did you?
I believe the PC repair shop is right here.
What do you see happening on the screen now?
At that moment is when we're walking around the vehicle that is parked halfway in the alley.
Okay, so what's just happened there? Cars driven by the car that was parked in the alley, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so in fact, that car that was blocked, that was in the alley wasn't blocking.
Oh, it was partially in the alley. You can still get by it, but it's still parked.
And you were able to drive by it without any difficulty,
You
correct?
could still drive by it, yes.
Okay. Did you leave a citation there?
I didn't. It wasn't.
Did Deputy Ayers leave a citation there?
I don't know if he ever gave him a parking citation.
So basically, you walked around the car and then drove off.
I
that
did,
correct?
yes.
Okay. Did you approach the house?
Yes.
Did you notice that lights were on?
Yes.
Did you knock on the door?
Deputy Ayers.
Deputy Ayers knocked on the door.
Correct.
Okay. Was there any response?
Not from my knowledge, no.
Do you know whether Deputy Ayers did a kind of polite little knock, or in fact, did he pound on the door?
I don't recall how he knocked.
Just for clarity, the record's sake, what we were just watching, Mr. Douglas, was the first portion of Exhibit 111. Is that right?
Yes.
Very well. Thank you.
So became the basis for what ultimately led to this raid on the Buchner household. There were intervening steps in between, but that's the starting point for it, correct?
Correct.
want to go back for a moment to ask you some questions about what was found during the search. And I'm going to draw on your general experience as well. When you are searching, and this would include when you search PC repairs, you found some items that were illegal, correct?
Correct.
All right. And that's what happens in a successful search, correct?
I guess you'd define on a successful search.
Fair enough. When the searches that lead to criminal charges against people involve finding illegal stuff during the search, right?
For the most part, yes.
Okay. In what circumstances would it lead to criminal charges without finding anything there?
I guess if somehow you uncovered some other criminal activity afoot, it could lead to something different. But just because every search warrant you do for illegal narcotics or paraphernalia doesn't mean you're actually going to find anything.
Okay. Are plastic bags in and of themselves legal?
Yes,
They can be used for illegal purposes, correct?
correct.
And they are used for illegal purposes by both drug users and drug sellers, correct?
Correct.
Fabric softener sheet, and you have already shown us that there were plastic bags in the PC repairs building, correct?
Correct.
Fabric softener sheets, are they legal or illegal?
They're legal.
Can they be used for illegal purposes?
They could be used as a masking to mask the odor.
Okay. Did you find any fabric softener sheets in PC repairs?
I don't believe I did know.
Did you find any empty boxes of fabric softener sheets?
I don't recall if I did know.
You did find firearms, correct?
Correct.
Those firearms are not in and of themselves illegal, correct?
Correct.
They can be used by a whole variety of people, from law-abiding citizens to people who are. They can be used by a whole variety of people, correct?
Correct.
If you're searching somewhere where there has been drug activity, would you anticipate finding large amounts of cash?
I guess it's a 50-50. Depends on when you execute the search warrant. If it's before they sold their product, you're going to have more product than you're going to have cash. But if they've already sold the product, you're going to have very little product and more cash.
Okay. When controlled buys are made, currency is given to the person who's going to be making the buy, correct?
From my understanding.
Okay. When you do a search of an area that's been involved in drug trafficking, typically, and I grant that there will be exceptions, but typically, what denominations of cash will be found?
Small bills.
For drug trafficking?
Well, for drug trafficking, they can also make them in the smaller bills. So that way they try to hide it better than larger $100 bills.
Right, but generally, it would be more typical to find 20s, 50s, and 100s, correct?
Depending on how big your dealer is.
For a dealer who's involved in multiple grams, multiple 8 balls, you would be expecting significant denominations of cash, correct?
No, I'd be expecting smaller amount of bills when they're dealing with small amounts to get smaller if they're a user themselves, they're going to be using their product or using to sell certain products to use other products. So they're not going to have the 50s, the 100s, because they're not just a dealer. They're just not a seller. If you're just a seller and that's all you're doing, you're going to have the higher amounts because that's all you're doing is you're selling the pounds, you're selling whatever. But if you're selling the smaller amounts, you're only dealing with everybody else that's on the street that doesn't have a 20, a 50 to their name. So you're not going to be able to cut them change. So it's just going to be, oh, here's some 5s, here's some 1s. It's going to be all smaller amounts.
Do you remember what denomination of cash was found in PC repairs during the search?
Just from my video, a few of the 1s. I don't know if there was a couple of 20s, but I didn't physically go through those ammo crates.
Do you remember anybody reporting, and or did you yourself find anything larger than a couple of 20s?
I would have no knowledge on that.
Did you find anything larger than a couple of 20s?
I didn't know.
You did find drugs. Did you, and you found drug paraphernalia. Was how many pipes did you find? Total of 3, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And that would not be unusual for a street user to possess, correct?
Correct.
What are, do you know what buy-sell notes are?
No,
How do dealers keep track of their sales?
I guess whatever method works for them.
What have you seen in your experience?
I've yet to locate, say, a notebook or something specific that says so-and-so this amount, so-and-so this amount. I haven't been able to locate that off of a dealer.
Deputy Ayler this morning commented on finding ledgers when investigating a drug dealer. Does that surprise you?
It wouldn't surprise me, no.
No. So you would expect, at least you would anticipate at least a possibility of a drug dealer having a ledger to keep track of sales.
There could be a possibility.
Do you think it is likely that they would want some way to keep track of their sales?
No, not if, I mean, if they're strictly in the business of selling narcotics, then yes. If they're strictly in the business of selling narcotics, then yes. But if it's a local dealer who, you know, he has 10 friends or something, and those are the same 10 people that come by, he doesn't have to keep a record of it. Okay, I know that, you know, he always buys a gram or buys a half a gram. And so here, you know, money comes in, money goes out. And as long as it's supplying either his habit or for him to keep buying it, he doesn't have to keep track or keep a ledger because he knows who's buying it from him.
And that would be somebody who would be much closer to being a street user, correct?
Be more of a user and a dealer to
Sure.
sell for their own.
They can overlap, right?
They could.
Okay. But somebody who is doing small time dealing is more apt to be to spend more of their time being a drug user than being a drug seller. Correct?
That'd probably be fair to say.
I'm sorry.
It'd be fair to say.
Okay. Did you test the paraphernalia to see if that white stuff was actually meth?
No,
Do you know if anybody tested it?
I don't know if anybody tested it.
So far as you're aware, it wasn't sent to the lab, correct?
Correct.
After you searched PC repairs, you testified that you went upstairs and the Euchre House. Is that correct?
Yes,
All right. And you went there, and was Deputy Ehlers already up there?
I believe so.
Do you know about how long he had been there?
I do not.
Did you search a dresser?
I did.
Did you search it before or after Deputy Ehlers?
I think I rummaged through it before he searched it.
And then he searches it, and have you found anything when you rummaged through?
I don't recall that I found anything, no.
And you recall whether Deputy Ehlers found anything?
He said that he found that small baggie with that roach.
So you didn't find anything. Was Deputy Ehlers searching at the same time as you, or was there a matter of a little bit of time between your search and his search?
I believe it was probably just shortly after I got done searching.
Did Deputy Ehlers have a body cam?
No,
Were you in the room when Deputy Ehlers was searching?
yes,
And when he found the dope in the dresser, the roach in the dresser, were you watching him?
I don't recall physically my body cam watching him, no.
I'm going to play something at this point that might contribute to your memory. Do we have sound on this? Mhm. Mhm. No. If I do export.
I didn't get this in the right spot. I need to back it up just a little bit.
Go ahead. What exhibit, this is another portion of 111, is that correct, Mr.
Yes,
Douglas?
Your Honor, that's correct.
All right, very well. Go ahead and play it when you're ready.
This is, I don't know where the sound is.
We're not sure what's going on with the sound, but go ahead and watch the video. Deputy Kinnaman, how many people were searching upstairs at the same time in this part of the search?
I believe it's just Deputy Ayers and myself.
Okay. And you're searching different rooms, correct?
Correct.
Which means that you really weren't able to check what Deputy Ayers was doing, were you?
From the appearance, it looks like we've been in this room together.
Right, but not all the time,
I
correct?
don't know about any of the other rooms.
Okay, but you were not in this one room together all the time, correct?
I don't believe so.
And the Deputy Ayers brings what he found over to you and shows it to you, correct?
Yes, correct. And as I was watching the video when I was searching it, it appeared that before I closed it, that clear plastic baggie with that roach was in the upper left-hand corner. And I must have missed it during the search, either just due to the fact that my flashlight, I mean, sometimes when you are searching and searching for long hours, that is why you go behind other officers, because sometimes you overlook things. But I think when we were watching it, before I closed that drawer, it appeared to be in the upper left-hand corner of that drawer.
Okay. And from your perception and from your memory, we're talking about a roach, correct?
Correct,
Which is part of a burned marijuana cigarette, correct?
correct.
So maybe what, an inch long? Is that what we're talking about?
Not even.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions at this moment.
Anything else for this witness, Ms. Phillips?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Deputy Kinnaman, Mr. Douglas was asking you some questions about large amounts of methamphetamine. Have you ever seen or known just a user of methamphetamine to buy in bulk?
No,
Do users of drugs, specifically methamphetamine, usually have the amount of money necessary to buy in bulk?
no,
And you had made some references to, when we're talking about distinguishing out different kinds of people, you had referenced someone who sells to make money and someone who sells to support their habit. Do you recall that testimony?
yes.
Is there any real difference, however, between someone who sells drugs to support their habit and someone who sells drugs to make money?
No, there's no difference. You're still selling to make a profit. How you spend that profit's on you.
Okay. When Mr. Douglas was going through a list of items that drug dealers may have in their home, and one of those items in particular was fabric softener or perhaps buy and sell notes, did it surprise you not to find those things during the search warrant?
Fabric softener, no, because that's used more as in the transportation of the dope. So that way they can mask the odor from either the officer who made the traffic stop or to try to mask it from the canine to alert on it. So usually masking odors are not known to be in houses to hide their own dope because they feel safe in their house. It would be more of the transport from point A to point B.
Deputy Kinnaman, now talking about what we just watched, that video, and you indicated that you actually did see the bag.
It appeared to be in the upper left. That I
Okay.
missed.
Any idea why you would not have seen that evening?
Obviously, as you can tell by that time, the last rooms of the house. By that time, I know I was exhausted. And again, more times that you search, sometimes you do start, instead of going over with a fine tooth comb, you just start broad and just making vast searches. And so as I was moving everything around, I wasn't specifically moving each item to make sure there was nothing there. So, I went over it pretty fast, and then with the shining of my flashlight, could, in such a small space, could have also blinded it.
Have you watched that video with sound?
Yes,
Does Deputy Ehlers actually give you a hard time for not finding that?
he does.
And in fact, going back to your body camera, have you watched your full body camera?
Yes,
At the end of the search, did Deputy Ehlers come out to the PC repair building? And when I say, let me clarify, at the end of the evening, I should say, did Deputy Ehlers come back into the PC repair building one additional time?
I honestly, I can't remember if he did, since at that point is when I started to do everything with the evidence and move on.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you know if Deputy Ehlers actually went back and researched that PC repair drawer desk that we'd watched that video on?
He probably could have.
Does that happen on search warrants?
Yeah, if someone feels like someone else might have overlooked something, then, you'll go ahead and relook through any crevice or cranny that you think that they might have missed.
And do those officers kind of give the other officers a hard time about that?
Yes.
Do you know, did Deputy Ehlers find anything when he went back and researched the PC repairs drawer that you had searched?
No.
There was a question for you in regard to testing the residue on the scale and testing the substance in the tin. Why did you not send those to the lab?
As far as I know, I've never sent either the pipes or any scales for residue testing to the lab. They just want the substance themselves.
And my last area of questions for you, Deputy Kinnaman, is back to October 27th. We watched some video with the vehicle, and on that, and there was some reference to the vehicle that was illegally parked. The video that we saw showed several different vehicles. Can you describe in more particularity which vehicle it was that was illegally parked?
It was the vehicle that was parked in the alleyway on the other side of the PC repair shop.
In that video, could we see very much of that vehicle?
Just the tail end of it.
What constitutes an illegally parked car?
Any vehicle that would be parked over the line that would be used for the regular public.
And was that vehicle parked over the line?
Yes.
Why do you, as an Ida County deputy, why do you respond, or why are you concerned with those type of situations or calls?
Because we're supposed to answer all calls, no matter how major or minute they are.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything else for this witness, Mr. Douglas?
Yeah, probably just one quick question, maybe a few follow-up. Was there any call about that car from anybody?
No, not that I recall.
No further questions.
Anything else for this witness, Ms. Phillips?
Deputy Kinnaman, yes, thank you, Your Honor. Deputy Kinnaman, do you ever try to act proactively to prevent calls? Okay, and what in this situation would be proactive?
Correct.
No, I'm sorry, what would be proactive in a parking situation like this?
It would be to where you observed that a car was illegally parked. So then you would try to make contact to get them to remove it. So that way you wouldn't get a neighbor or a passerby that finds it to be inconvenienced and then calls the sheriff's office later.
And in your job as a deputy, have you received complaints for illegally parked vehicles?
Yes,
Was that what you were trying to do that evening, is avoid a complaint?
yes.
Okay, thank you, nothing further.
Anything else for this witness, Mr. Douglas?
Was there a license plate on that car?
I believe so.
Did you check the license plate to see who it belonged to?
I'd have to check with Deputy Ehlers.
But you yourself did not?
No, I did not.
So you didn't really make any effort to find out which individual owned that car that was a problem?
I myself did not, but I would assume Deputy Ehlers did since he was primary.
Okay. Have you read his report about that evening?
I have not read his report, no.
No further questions.
Anything else, Ms. Phillips?
No, Your Honor.
Before we cut this witness loose, I think I made a mistake in identifying the exhibit that was played during cross-examination. I think I said it was 111, and I think it's actually 109. Am I right about that, Mr. Douglas?
We think so.
All right, 109, which is the excerpts of this witness's body cam, is what it appeared to be to me. So I think we've got the record clarified on that. With that, sir, you are free to go. Just go ahead and leave the exhibits there. Thank you very much. All right, it's 3:49. We typically go to 4:30. That's more or less closing time for jury trials. I will kind of leave it up to our jurors. Do we need another break? If you do, raise your hand. If you want to power through till 4:30, then don't raise your hand. That's what we'll do. Anybody need another break at this point? All right, I see none, so we will continue at this time then. Any additional evidence today on behalf of the state, Ms. Phillips?
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Michael Steer.
Very well. Sir, please step forward to the witness stand over here to my left, and I'll swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. Please take a seat. And whenever you're ready, Ms. Phillips, please go ahead.
Please introduce yourself to the court.
Sergeant Michael Steer,
And how are you employed?
Ida County Sheriff's Office,
How long have you been a sergeant with Ida County?
approximately 4 years.
Were you employed with Ida County prior?
Yeah, I've been here since about 2014.
So when you started in 2014, what was your role?
Just a regular deputy patrol.
How did you become a sergeant?
I took a sergeant's exam and passed.
Were you appointed by the sheriff?
Yes,
Is being a sergeant a promotion?
yes.
And what does it mean your job duties are?
I'm in charge of patrol division and the K-9 program.
Do you have any other law enforcement experience?
Yes, I previously before here, I was the correctional police officer for approximately 11 years.
What is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Briarcliff University. I also graduated from the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy in July of 2003.
And have you received any additional law enforcement training throughout the years?
Yes, we get regular training several times a year for recertifications and such.
You indicated that you are, I believe you said you oversee the patrol division and you're a K-9 supervisor. What does that mean as a K-9 supervisor?
K-9 supervisor, I make sure they have all of their certifications up to date. They have certain qualifications they have to go through every year. I also make sure they keep up with their training. They have 16 hours of continuing ed they have to do every month.
Deputy Ehlers and Deputy Kinnaman testified earlier that they are actually K-9 handlers, and they testified as to the education they've received to be K-9 handlers, as well as the numerous, in fact, drug investigation classes that they have attended. Since you're K-9 supervisor, have you done those same?
No,
Why not?
apparently I'm not required to.
Okay. Is being a K-9 supervisor more of an administrative role?
Yes,
Do you focus on drug investigations or drug cases in your job as a sergeant?
not usually.
Okay. Were you working in your job as a sergeant for Ida County on November 2nd, 2018?
Yes,
Did you participate in the execution of a search warrant on that day at the defendant's residence?
yes.
What was your role or job in that search warrant?
To oversee the execution of it and prepare the planning stages for the search warrant.
How did you do that?
The planning stages.
Well, yes, go ahead.
We met at the sheriff's office on a scheduled date and time. I gathered intelligence from the other officers to make sure I had everything that we needed to execute it, the layout of the property and stuff like that.
Why was it necessary for you to gather intelligence?
I'd been on the property, but I never been inside any of the buildings.
Had you ever been in the PC repair building?
No.
What were the assigned duties for each officer?
We had a group that was to go execute the warrant on the house, and then a second group that was to execute the warrant at the PC repair building at the exact same time.
And what was your assigned duty?
My assigned duty was to, at first, help with the execution of the warrant at the PC repair building, and then to generally oversee the execution of the entire warrant.
So did the entries of these two buildings happen at the same time?
Yes,
Why?
it's for safety reasons, plus we didn't want any evidence to be destroyed when we entered one if we didn't enter the other.
What happened after your the meeting that you described?
I assigned officers to go certain areas, and then we went from the sheriff's office to the alley by the PC repair building to execute the warrant.
And what did you do particularly when you arrived there?
When I arrived, I shined my flashlight at a camera that we knew he had, so we were not visible. And then I stood by the door of the PC repair building until we heard the word execute by Deputy Ehlers.
You referenced shining the light because of cameras you knew that he had. Who are you referring to?
The defendant.
What happened next?
We heard the word execute the warrant from Deputy Ehlers. At that time, Deputy Van Egdom, and his responsibility was to boot in the door to the PC repair building.
Was he able to do that?
Yes, it only took one kick and he was able to enter the building.
Is that you reference one kick? Is that typical?
Very unusual for us to do it in one kick for a locked door.
Okay. So what happened after the PC repair building was once entry was made by that kick?
Myself, Deputy Hindman, Reserve Deputy Ehlers, or Reserve Deputy Benner, and Charlie Luke, we did go in and clear the residence or clear the PC repair building to make sure nobody was inside.
Was there anyone there?
No, there was not.
What happened next?
After we secured that, I had Trooper Luke stay at the PC repair building to monitor it to make sure nobody entered. suspects, anything like that. And then myself, Deputy Van Egdom, and Reserve Deputy Benner did go into the residence to make sure everything was okay in there.
Why didn't you just begin the search of PC repairs at that time?
Because we wanted to make sure that the house was secure as well.
Okay, when you reference secure, what do you mean?
Everybody was accounted for, that there was no active threat to any of us.
Okay. So I'm sorry, can you tell me again, did you enter the house?
Yes, I entered the house with Deputy Van Egdom and Deputy Benner after the initial wave of the warrant was executed.
About how long did you stay in the house?
Maybe 5-10 minutes at the most.
Why did you leave?
I left after I heard that they had all persons secured. I knew that there was no longer a threat to any of us. So at that point, I decided to leave to take off my tactical gear. I had a tactical vest on that weighs quite a bit, plus a rifle.
Okay, when you say quite a bit, do you know how much that vest weighs?
60 to 90 pounds.
Do you have that on today?
No,
When you left the house, were you asked to take anything with you when you left?
yes, when I was leaving, Deputy Victim asked me if I could secure the weapon that was found in the kitchen.
And I am going to ask you to review a little bit of the video, but first of all, have you reviewed the body camera video in this case?
Yes,
And is there, when you were jumping back to when you were making assignments for what each officer's duties were, did you take into account which officers had body cameras?
yes. At the time, the department did not have body cameras assigned to each deputy. We do now, but back then we did not. So I made sure we had, when we executed the warrant, there was cameras at both locations so we could document the entry to the both places.
Okay. I'd like to ask Ms. Whitmer now to play a video. Just a moment, I'll refer to the exhibit number. It'd be exhibit number 39. And I'll have you just watch this and then I have a few questions.
Here, you want the gun put in one of the vehicles?
Yeah.
One of yours, or where are we gonna put all of them?
We're gonna put it out in the garage. We're just gonna put it out here for now.
No, all the people.
So we're just have to sit them, we're gonna have to just sit them somewhere in there.
Sit them in the house and
Yeah, somebody's just gonna have to keep an eye on them. Because there's no way we have room for that many people. If somebody starts getting lippy, we'll take them out. I'll put this out here quick.
Deputy Steer, a few questions about that video. There is a gun that's mentioned and a gun that was given to you. Can you tell the jury about that gun?
It was some sort of handgun.
Do you know where that handgun came from?
It was found in the kitchen.
Do you know, was it an Ida County a deputy's handgun?
No, it was not.
Okay. Do you know if that handgun was loaded?
I did not know.
Did you ever discharge or unload the weapons from, or the bullets from that weapon?
Later, we did, yes.
Okay, so going back to my question, because I think you may have misunderstood it. My question is, at any point, did you become aware that that gun was loaded?
No.
But you discharged the weapon?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, later it was loaded.
Okay. Why was it necessary to remove that gun from the kitchen?
To keep,
Your Honor.
All right, please approach. All right, go ahead and continue, Ms. Phillips.
Deputy Steer, when you took the gun from the kitchen, was that part of just what you've testified to earlier, generally securing the scene?
Yes,
And I apologize, maybe you've answered this already, but where did you take the gun to?
I put it in the PC repair building.
Why would you take it there?
That area was already secure from us and nobody was around to tamper with it of any kind.
Okay. And I'm also going to have you watch some security camera from the defendant. Have you also previously seen or viewed this security camera?
Yes,
Okay, I'd ask Ms. Whitmer to play the security camera, and this would be State's Exhibit 40. Can you tell the jury what it is you're doing here?
Trooper Luke is standing at the corner of the PC repair building. So I was talking with him.
And we just finished watching the body camera where you're exiting the house. Is this video immediately after you exiting the house?
Yes,
Did you have anything in your hand at this time?
yes, the handgun is.
Can you see the gun in that video?
Yes,
Deputy Steer, what are you doing at this point?
gun to leave it in the PC repair building.
And where did you put the handgun?
It was placed on the couch in the PC repair building.
Why did you put the handgun on the couch?
That was a place that there was no clutter or anything that we knew that if I was not in there, the other officers that went in there made sure they could see it.
We've seen some other video of PC repairs building and you referenced clutter. Was it pretty cluttered in there?
For me, yes,
Okay. Did it take some time to find a clear space?
yes,
Did you do anything else while you were in the PC repair building?
no.
And what are you doing here?
Leaving the PC repair building.
What happened after you left the PC repairs building?
I would have addressed those other officers and then I would have went and take off my tactical attire.
Deputy, or excuse me, Sergeant Steer, you testified earlier that you shined your flashlight up at the cameras. What point was that?
Right when we were ready to execute the warrant.
And did you know what the cameras, well, how did you become aware that there were cameras?
I was told by other officers.
Okay. Were you aware that your actions that evening were being taped or under surveillance by the defendant?
We assumed, but we were not sure.
Did you, Sergeant Steer, have any direct contact with the evidence that was seized that evening?
I did not touch any of it. I took several pictures of some of the initial evidence that was found. I believe 3 pictures.
Are you aware of whether any money was seized that evening?
Yes.
Tell the jury what you know about that.
There's money seized from the residents on, I didn't know an exact amount. The Monday after, I was directed by the sheriff to take that money to the bank with Deputy Venegna to be counted by the bank personnel.
Do you know how much money was there?
Over $1,900 approximately.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any cross-examination for this witness, Mr. Douglas?
Let me confer for a moment, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Sergeant Steele, my name is Reese Conrad Douglas. I'm the attorney for Michael Euchner. With regard to what you said about the firearm, is there any body camera that backs up that story
Of,
of you taking it and placing it on the couch?
there is body cam, I believe, from a deputy that shows the firearm on the couch. But I did not have a body cam on me.
None of the, in fact, none of the people who initially entered the PC repairs had body cams. Is that correct?
Deputy Van Egdom did,
Okay, Van Egdom was part of the PC repairs entry.
yes.
Okay. With regard to the money that was approximately 1,900. Do you remember what the denominations of currencies was?
My report may say so, but I do not know right offhand.
Do you, if I were to suggest to you that the large bulk of it was $1 bills, does that seem likely to you?
It's been a long time. I don't remember what the denominations were. I know there was a lot of coins. As far as cash, I'm not aware right at this time.
Do you remember whether you saw any larger denominations?
I don't remember.
Confer, Your Honor. You were in charge of the overall expedition, correct?
Yes.
Why was it that the head of the expedition did not file the charges and instead it was Deputy Ehlers who filed the charges?
He was in the initial person who did the search warrant. That's how we usually handle things, that the officers that deal with it initially are the ones that follow through with everything.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything else for this witness, Ms. Phillips?
I can just have a moment, Your Honor, to look at our video. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, sir. You are free to go.
Thank you.
Any additional evidence on behalf of the state today, Ms. Phillips?
Your Honor, I do have Corey Van Bly.
All right, we'll go ahead and at least get started with him. Sir, please step right up here to the witness stand to my left. Once you're up here, I will swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please take a seat. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Phillips, go ahead.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Corey Van Bly,
How are you employed?
County County Sheriff's Office,
What is your position there?
Deputy Sheriff, Patrol Deputy,
How long have you been a deputy with Ida County?
5.5 years.
What is your educational background?
I have an associate's degree with an emphasis in criminal justice. And I graduated from the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy in 2016.
And do you also receive updated training in law enforcement each year?
Yes, I do.
Do you focus on a certain area?
Most of our training is related to criminal interdiction or drug interdiction.
Can you briefly describe what you do as a deputy with Ida County?
A daily shift is respond to calls, whether they're emergent or non-emergent.
Were you working as a deputy for Ida County on November 2nd, 2018?
I was.
Did you assist in the execution of the search warrant at the defendant's residence?
Yes, I did.
What was your role in that?
My role in that was to be in charge of the battering ram. Once we went to execute the warrant and the battering ram was not needed, then I helped assist with securing the residence, and then I helped take photographs of any evidence that was found.
And I'd like to direct your attention to the PC repairs building. At what point did you enter the PC repairs building?
It would have been after the search warrant was read to the defendant.
Deputy Ayers has testified that he found, or that the defendant took him into the PC repairs building and showed him the middle drawer. Were you in the building at that point?
I believe I walked in with them.
Okay, so let's start at that point. From that point on, what was your primary role, or was there a certain area that you stayed in or focused on?
For the remainder of the search warrant, I primarily stayed in the PC repair building.
Okay. And Deputy Kinnaman has testified that after he found various items in the desk, that he then went and searched the house. Where did you stay at that time?
In the PC repair building.
Did anyone tamper or alter the evidence while you were in the PC repair building?
No.
Thank you. Nothing further.
No questions, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'll confer for a moment.
Go right ahead.
Your Honor, I'm going to make what is for me an unusual request. I need to confer longer with my client, and I'm requesting the right to recall the witness in the morning.
Any problem with that, Ms. Phillips?
Well, if the defendant is recalling the witness, I think he would call him in his case then.
So, Mr. Douglas, are you asking to a break for the evening and then
Yeah.
have the witness come back if
Yes,
necessary?
please.
Any problem with that, Ms. Phillips?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So that's what we'll do. We'll call it a day. A little bit early. It's 4:19. Like I said, we typically go to 4:30, but we will wrap things up right now. So what we'll plan to do then, ladies and gentlemen, is come back just like today. If you could be ready to go at 8:45, we'll get started at 9 o'clock and proceed from there. Until then, you're all free to go home for the night. Just be back tomorrow. While you're gone, remember your admonition, especially don't listen to anything about the case. Don't talk about the case, including with your families or with each other. So what we will do then, we will, since the courtroom is, like I've explained a couple of times, essentially functioning as the jury room, you all can take your time to get yourselves packed up and out of here. And anything else that the parties and attorneys need to do, we'll do back in chambers. So you all are free to go. Just be back here ready to go at around 8:45.